First Voyage Around the World by Antonio Pigafetta.
I am Jackielyn Tubio. But before we begin, I'd like to introduce the other member of Group 2. Please help me welcome Miss Kencie Manaig, Miss Belle Lucido, Miss Maya Evangelio, Miss Lyca Lagrimas, Miss Kaye Malolos, and Miss Jocelle Guevarra.
Historical context of the source. In search of fame and fortune, Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan set out from Spain in 1590 with a fleet of 5 ships to discover a western sea route to the Spice Islands. En route, he discovered what is known as the Strait of Magellan and became the first European to cross the Pacific Ocean. On August 10, 1519, Magellan bade farewell to his wife and young son, neither of whom he would never see again. In the Armada de Molucas set sail. Magellan commanded the lead ship Trinidad and was accompanied by 4 other ships, the San Antonio, the Concepcion, the Victoria, and Santiago. The fleet reached South America a little more than 1 month later. There the ships sailed southward, hugging the coast in search of the fabled strait that would allow passage through South America. The fleet stopped at Port San Julian, where the crew moonlighted on Easter Day in 1520. Magellan quickly quelled the uprising, executing one of the captains and leaving another mutinous captain behind. Meanwhile, Magellan had sent to Santiago to explore the route ahead, where it was shipwrecked during a terrible storm. The crew's ship members were rescued and assigned out among the remaining ships. With those disastrous events behind them, the fleet left Port San Julian 5 months later when fierce seasonal storms abated. In September 1519, Magellan's fleet sailed from San Lucar de Barrameda, Spain, and crossed the Atlantic Ocean, which was then known simply as the Ocean Sea. And now for the final insight. Seeking riches and personal glory, Magellan's daring and ambitious voyage around the world provided the Europeans with far more than just spices. Although the trip westward from Europe to the east via the Strait of Magellan had been discovered and mapped, the journey was too long and dangerous to become a practical route to the Spice Islands. Nevertheless, European geographic knowledge was expanded immeasurably by Magellan's expedition. He found not only a massive ocean, hitherto unknown to Europeans, but he also discovered that the Earth was much larger than previously thought. Finally, although it was no longer believed that the Earth was flat at this stage in history, Magellan's circumnavigation of the globe empirically discredited the medieval theory conclusively. Though Magellan is often credited with the first circumnavigation of the globe, he did so on a technicality. The expedition would prove long and arduous, and only one ship, the Victoria, would return 3 years later across the Pacific, carrying a mere 18 of the fleet's original crew of 270. And that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Lyca Lagrimas and now I will discuss one of the essential parts of contextual analysis, which is background of the author. So Antonio Pigafetta is the author of the travelogue First Voyage Around the World by Magellan. Now let's take a look at his family background. So Antonio Pigafetta is also known as Antonio Lombardo or Francisco Antonio Pigafetta. His parents were named Angela Zaga and Giovanni Pigafetta. He is born in 1491 and he was from a rich family at Vicenza on the west portion of Venice, Italy. And he was the eldest son in the family. Now let's take a look at his educational background. So, Pigafetta studied astronomy, geography, and cartography. So kaya siya nakasama sa journey ni Magellan at ni Escano sapagkat siya ang tagagawa ng mapa at tumitingin ng direksyon gamit ang natutunan niya sa astronomiya. So before he became the assistant of Ferdinand Magellan, he served on board the ships of the Knights of Rhodes at the beginning of the 16th century. He is also accompanied in the delegation of Monsignor Francisco Cheragati when he was appointed at the Papal Nuncio, Spain in the year 1519. So, nalaman natin na hindi pala first time ni Pigafetta na sumama sa isang ekspedisyon. So, Pigafetta accompanied Ferdinand Magellan together with Juan Sebastian Elcano in August 1519 in the most famous expedition to the Moluccas, which ended in September 1522. So, ito na nga yung pinaka-famous na circumnavigation ni Magellan at Elcano na pag-circumnavigate sa buong mundo. So, nagsimula ito noong August 15, 19 at nagtapos noong September 15, 22. So, some of published works of Pigafetta are Il Primo Viago Interno al Mondo and to America and Around the World. So, ilan lamang ito sa mga published works ni Pigafetta, pero alam naman natin na ang pinaka-famous work niya ay yung travelogue niya na First Voyage Around the World by Magellan.
The objective of Pigafetta, as indicated in the paragraph, was to record the events of the expedition. He also accompanied Magellan to keep the journal, which will serve as documentary proof of their journey around the world. Antonio Pigafetta's account on the first voyage around the world is of manifold significance. It was also written to amaze and astonish a European audience. It is pointed out that the first voyage around the world was significant in many ways or had great importance, and that it contained concise and in-depth information about various scientific topics or the creation of maps, as well as the political, religious, and historical elements that make up the world. It is also written to impress the European audiences. For the authority of the author, Antonio Pigafetta was an Italian scholar and explorer. He joined the expedition to the Spice Island led by explorer Ferdinand Magellan under the flag Emperor Charles V, and after Magellan's death in the Philippine Island, the subsequent voyage around the world. In this slide, it is claimed that Pigafetta was an Italian scholar and explorer who joined the Magellan-led expedition and served under the patronage of Emperor Charles V. It is also stated that after Magellan's death, the first voyage around the world was introduced. It is said that Pigafetta presents a good remark or is recognized for organizing data on historical events in the Philippines. The earliest documents in the language and culture of the people from Samar and Cebu are those from the first voyage around the world. Escalante further stated that Pigafetta's story is the most comprehensive and that is necessary documentation to be a reliable primary sources.
I am Mia Evangelio and I will discuss the topic about what is the relevance of the first voyage around the world by Antonio Pigafetta. First, the account is proof of the richness, governance, and independence in our country in the pre-colonial era. Second, Christianity, as the largest religion in the world, was propagated in the Philippines by Ferdinand Magellan. Third, the account of Pigafetta enriched Philippine historiography because it contains essential details about the conditions of the Visayan island in the 16th century. Fourth, the faith of the natives before is just about raising hands and clapping, building different images of their idols, until Magellan introduced the Christianity to them. It was accepted and practiced by Filipinos and has been considerable part of our culture and beliefs. Fourth, local textbook writers use this book as their historical information source about the beginning of Christianity in the Philippines. Fifth, the document also narrated the status and inferiority of the Filipinos in warfare, manner of dressing, and system of writing. Dahil sa ekspedisyon ni Magellan, nalaman natin ang kalagayan ng ating bansa noon at kung ano yung mga kultura at paniniwala ng ating mga sinaunang ninuno. Dahil din dito, nakilala natin ang Kristyanismo na relihiyon ng karamihan sa atin sa ngayon.
And now, during March 16 to 17, 1521, the fleet sights the mountains of Samar in the Philippines and anchors at the island of Suluan at latitude of 11 degrees north. And now, during March 22, 1521, our ancestors returned to Homonton with more fleet and grain. While on March 25, 1521, Pigafetta falls overboard and is nearly drowned. The expedition leaves Homonton and sails across the waters of Hinulmangan, or also known as Southern Leyte, and of Gibusang Island, which is also known as Loreto de Nagat Islands. And now, on March 29 to 30, 1521, Sayal, the Raja of Butuan, meets Magellan. Colombo and Magellan enter into a blood combat. And now, during May 2, 1521, at this time, the Concepcion is abandoned, so only about 110 men still survive. However, was elected Captain General, so the rest of the expedition immediately leaves Cebu and reach Bohol Province. So off Bohol, Juan Carvalho becomes the new Captain General of the expeditions aboard the Trinidad and orders the burning of the Concepcion. So Gonzalo Gomez de Espinosa is promoted Captain of the Victoria. So now on August 15 to September 21, 1521, so during August, Victoria and Trinidad call at Si Bongbong or Bangwe on the south side of the Balabac Strait, where they remain 42 days repairing the ships and gathering preparations. And now, during September, Carvalho is degraded to his former rank of flag pilot. So Gomez de Espinosa is elected Captain General and Captain of the Trinidad. So Juan Sebastian de Elcano is elected captain of Victoria. Thus, the plan released on December 21, 1521. So Victoria, under the command of Elcano, set sail for a 9-month-long yachting voyage via the Cape of Good Hope with 47 of the original crew and 13 natives on board. 18 Christian and 3 Indonesians survived. So Gomez de Espinosa stays behind with 53 men to prepare to Trinidad before attempting to return across the Pacific to New Spain, where the cargoes to be carried across the Isthmus of Panama and shipped to Spain.
So now let me discuss the difference of the first voyage around the world. So it enriched Philippine historiography because it contains essential details about the conditions of the Visayan Islands in the 16th century. Magellan, together with his crews, converted the religion of the Filipino to Christianity and held the first Catholic Mass in the archipelago. So, alam naman natin na noong una ay ang sinasamba ng mga katutubo ay ang mga Diyos-Diyosan, katulad na lang ng araw. So, Magellan died in the Philippines, and the fate of the natives before are building figures of their idols, raising their hands, and clapping. So, yun nga, yung paniniwala ng ating mga katutubo. Next naman is the Boxer Codex. So, ang Boxer Codex is the earliest image of people living in archipelago. So, ang Boxer Codex ay para siyang isang libro na nandoon yung illustrations ng mga iba't ibang kasuotan or iba't ibang mga itsura ng mga Asian, especially ng mga Filipino. So, it is designed to promote and justify the Spanish enterprise in the Pacific, documents cultural exchange and artistic hybridity in early colonial Manila. And customs are underlined by the beautiful depiction which take care to render the specific dressing details and hairstyles of ethnic groups. So dito nga napakita yung unique na hairstyle at kasuotan ng mga Filipino noong unang panahon or nung kasagsagan ng pagsakop ng Espanyol. So next naman is the Laguna copper plate inscription. So it is a 20 cm square copper plate covered on one side by a 10-line inscription of finely written characters. The landmark discovery pushed back the start of the Philippine history from 1521 by 600 years. So, ang Laguna copper plate inscription, ito yung kauna-unahang tala na na-record sa ating bansa. So, noon kasi, ang binagbabasayan ng mga historians na nagsimula ang history ng ating bansa noong 1521. And sa pagkaka-discover nitong Laguna copper plate inscription, nag-push back pa ito by 600 years. So, na-discover nila na present na ng 600 years ang sibilisasyon dito sa ating bansa. So it provides that at the time of writing inscriptions, the Philippines was already a society with international trading networks. So, Doctrina Christiana is one of the first book produced in the European tradition in the Philippines. So, ang Doctrina Christiana, ito yung kauna-unahang libro na naisulat sa Pilipinas. So, sabi ni Chan Gonzaga, the use of baybayin script in some parts of the book likewise remind all of us the existence of pre-colonial Philippine culture and bears witness to the narrative of a Philippine community that existed even prior to the arrival of the Spanish colonizers. So now, let's take a look at the similarities between the four. So first is, it provided details about culture, richness, governance, independence, and population of country in pre-colonial time. So, sa mga evidences na ito, nakita natin kung gaano kayaman ang Pilipinas bago pa man tayo sakupin ng mga Espanyol noon. Meron na tayong sariling kultura, marami tayong likas na yaman, may sarili na tayong governance or pamamahala, at tayo ay malaya. And also, yung population natin noon. It provided evidence stating outright that the archipelago as a nation with rulers at the time. So, it provided evidence na kahit hindi pa dumadating ang mga Espanyol noon, mayroon na tayong rulers o mga tagapamahala sa ating archipelago. It embodies the meeting of cultures, worldviews, technologies, and languages. So, dito napakita ang cultural exchange or ang exchange ng kultura, ng mga worldviews, ng mga teknolohiya noong panahong iyon at yung mga lengguwahe. It has significance to the Christianity of the Philippines and in the faith that marks a huge majorities of Filipino. So hanggang ngayon, ang Roman Catholic ang may pinakamalaking porsyento ng relihiyon dito sa ating bansa at alam naman natin na ang Roman Catholic o ang Katoliko ay nagsimula ng dalhin ito ng mga Espanyol dito sa ating bansa. Lastly is, it narrated the inferiority of the Filipino warfare, manner of dressing, and writing system. So dito nga napakita na ang mga Pilipino ay maalam na o may alam na sa pananamit, may sarili tayong sistema ng pagsusulat at marami pang iba.
For the bias of the author, it is stated or is biased to Ferdinand Magellan because they are together during the voyage and Pigafetta serves as the right hand or assistant of Magellan. Additionally, the biased material in Pigafetta was solely about Magellan himself or was biased to Italian because of Pigafetta's own ancestry.
What is the contribution and relevance of the document in understanding the grand narrative of Philippine history? First question is how relevant the documents in reconstructing the past of the Philippines and its people. The relevance of the document lies in the fact that Antonio Pigafetta took part to the first globe circumnavigation between 1519 and 1522, and he was able to finish it after the murder of Ferdinand Magellan, leaving a detailed description of the journey reporting the first trip around the world. Second, a lost manuscript was rescued in 1797 and considered one of the most important documentary evidences relating the geographical discoveries of the 16th century. Third, Antonio Pigafetta kept a detailed journal, the original of which is lost. However, an account of the voyage written by Pigafetta between 1522 and 1525 survives in four manuscript versions, one in Italian and three in French. This version in French is from the Library of Yale University and is the most complete and handsomely produced of the four surviving manuscripts. It includes 23 beautifully drawn and illuminated maps. Second, what is the significance of the document in scholars and historians? The document gives enough information about what was in the past about the Philippine history. We were able to gain knowledge about our ancestors' past tradition and culture. Second, it gives important details about the condition of the Visayan Island in 1970, including the activities, cultural practices, and social economic status that tells what were the Philippines had before. What is the significance of the document in economy? First, the way and means of trading system, mostly the things that carried out of the country. Second, discovery of the different kinds of products in the Philippines such as fabrics, herbs, perfume, porcelain, carpets, and other products. Third, what is the relevance of the document in religion? The document narrated how Catholic religion started in the Philippines and how Catholic faith and belief was embraced by Filipino people. Fourth, in youth. The information in the document gives inspiration to the youth that indeed we have our sovereignty and identity as a Filipino. How about in social culture? The good traits and physical appearance of Filipinos were identified and recognized. In politics, it introduces the personalities, croatial bravery, and guaranteed defense of the Philippines. Ang kahalagahan ng first voyage o expedition ni Magellan sa Pilipinas ay makikita sa ating pang-araw-araw na buhay. Ito man ay sa politika, kultura, mga kasanayan, relihiyon, at iba pa.
The first voyage around the world by Antonio Pigafetta was written to journalize the experience during the expedition led by Ferdinand Magellan. This is one of the primary sources of our history because of its credibility, where it's used as an evidence of the voyage. It brings significance to the Filipino people because we can access and gain knowledge from it, since those documents or information explains the language and culture of Samar and Cebu. However, the contents of Pigafetta's journal, First Voyage Around the World, mainly prejudice Ferdinand Magellan and the Italians.
Magellan was killed in battle during the voyage, but his daring expedition demonstrated that the globe could be circumnavigated by sea and that the world was much larger than previously thought. This journey proved that the earth is round. His travels have been described as the greatest of all conquests undertaken in the 15th and 16th centuries. Also, numerous islands and waterways, penguins, guanacos, and even clouds have been named after him.
Pigafetta's travelogue is one of the most important primary sources in the study of pre-colonial Philippines. In zoological significance, the descriptions of the natives reflect the early lives of the Visayan ancestors. In terms of political significance, the journal demonstrates that the Philippines had its own political system even before colonial times. In terms of economics, they used the barter system in which they traded their goods for something they wanted or needed.